there, my name is Caroline and welcome to Caroline's Handmaids. I have been away for some time. I've been away from making videos for a month, but I've had a little bit of things going on in my life. So welcome, and I will begin with life because that's why I've been away. Excuse me. So I've been away because my husband was involved in a little accident at home, and he ended up in the intensive care at Johns Hopkins here in Baltimore. So he woke up at 3:30 a.m. to go to use the bathroom, and he tripped over a fan that was at the foot of our bed, and the fan fell over, and he fell over the fan. Rushed him to the ER. Ambulance came. He didn't want to go that night because he just thought he fell and the pain was going to go away, but it was intense. The next day I asked him if he wanted to go to the urgent care. He again thought it would get better, but by the afternoon it became really bad. So I took him to the ER, and then after a lot of, not going to get into a whole lot of details, but after about 12 hours in the ER, the local hospital here, they decided to call shock trauma at Johns Hopkins and have him medevac there. Turned out that yes, it was the best decision ever because the fall made a 5 to 6 inch hole in his bladder, and he injured his spleen and ended up with a blood clot in his lungs. Ended up with surgery and all that stuff, but he came home with stuff connected to him, and I've been home working from home to take care of him, and he is getting better. And he does have some follow-ups, but with the doctor, because it's a slow progress, but he's getting better. And I thank each one of you who followed me on Instagram and who prayed for me and followed up with me. I want to thank Jane Gilson, my dear friend Jane Gilson, for the card, and then the flowers, and the book, and the chocolates for my husband. Then, Jane, your flowers are right there. It's always going to stay there. Thank you, my dear friend. And I just got off the phone with my dear friend Zelda from Zelda Sews. We FaceTimed each other. This is our second FaceTime. And oh my gosh, we can't stop chatting. We can just go for hours just chatting and chatting. We love it. And it was so nice just catching up with Zelda, talking about sewing, talking about our lives. It's just so nice to have. My friends do not sew. So it's just nice to connect like that with a sewing friend who's not only just a sew friend, but we have so much in common, and the biggest thing we have in common is Jesus. So just love that, Zelda. Love you, Zelda, and thank you for your friendship also. And so that's where I've been for the past month. I start to resume going back to the office this coming week. So we'll see how that goes. My husband will remain at home for the next few more weeks or a month. Not sure yet what the doctors say. What have I been up to sewing related? Well, I managed to clean up my sewing room. I was showing Zelda my sewing room. I converted the whole basement area to my sewing space, right? So I cleaned up everything, organized everything, made it more open. Behind the camera, it's more open, and there's more room to sit, and my daughter can come down, there's a couch, she can lounge in, we can chat, whatever. I did go, and then last week I turned 52. What a blessing to be 52. God has been so good to me, and I am so grateful to be alive and well. As many of you know, not going to go over it again. I've had several health issues, health challenges, but so grateful to be here on this earth, to be alive, to be well, to enjoy, to savor every moment of life. And I am so grateful that my husband is here with me on my 52nd birthday, that he is alive. This was a very life-threatening injury. They told us that it was consistent with a head-on car crash. They couldn't understand it. And my sister and my brother-in-law, who are also doctors and who were involved in this whole thing, said after the whole thing that my husband came home, they said, we didn't want to tell you this, but Michael was in grave danger. So I am so happy on this 52nd birthday that my husband is here with me and that my children are here. What more can I ask for, right? So what more can I ask for? My cup runneth over from my Heavenly Father. So thank you all. My husband sent me on a trip to Fabric Mart Fabrics. Yay! I went, that's what I did. I woke up on my birthday and drove to Fabric Mart Fabrics, and I was back home soon. But I shopped their main floor, obviously, and I did get some. I always shop their main floor. That's where all the fabric was. This on Tuesday was 50 cents a yard, $1 a yard, and $1.99 a yard. I must have gotten, okay, don't judge, please. My name is Caroline, and I am a fabric hoarder. Collector, let's change that word to collector. I think I must have got at least 80 yards or more. And I did get 4 yards of each cut. And at 50 cents, that's like $2 for 4 yards. So I must have got more than that. But yeah, so that's what I did on my birthday. Enjoyed it. And I did go up in the special rooms and did get at regular price fabrics, which was the regular price is, if you go in store, it's 50% off. So I think the most I paid for was $8 a yard. So those are I got 4 or 5 cuts of those. I'm not going to share that here with you all because, first of all, I didn't put them away as yet because I was busy cleaning. And, you know, you'll see them when I sew them up. But I have so much fabric, I think I could stay away. If I live another 30 to 40 years, yeah, I will have enough fabric. And I was showing Zelda, I was walking Zelda through my fabric. And she said, oh my gosh, you can just shop forever in your fabric stash room. Yeah. What have I been sewing in the past month? It's been slow sewing. I sewed up this. It's the Love Notions Coda quilted coat. I totally enjoyed making this coat. It took me a month, but that's because I was just sewing 10 minutes a night or less. I would come down to the basement to my sewing room with an intention to sew, but that intention would end up with me just sitting because I was so tired. And then I would sew for 10 minutes and call it, and, you know. I got this fabric from Joanne Fabrics. This is a quilted fabric. It's not a great deal. It was $24.99 right when they announced they were going out of business. And I used that was the week they were still taking that 40% coupon. I spent that 40% on this. And so it was $24.99 and I took 40% off that. And I did choose to do the binding because I felt like it was a much more polished and cleaner look. And I chose to put in the collar because you could do it without the collar, but I like the collar look. And I chose to put the buttons because you could use it without the buttons and keep it open. That was my make. And then I made the Love Notions Classic Tee to go with it. Now see, this one has all these what is it? I don't know, is there a word for it? Where these, you know, this piling, whatever, a lot on this fabric. It was a sweater knit that's really, really, you know, I have to take that lint remover, a lot of lint on it. Anyway, that's what I don't like about that fabric. But anyway, I'm very pleased with the Love Notions Coda quilted coat. I think I can see myself as perfect for this fluctuating weather. Today it's going to be around 82 here in Maryland, and then by next week it's like in the 50s. So it's this up and down weather that's going to be perfect. You know, it's this prelude to May, right? I always say that around Mother's Day is when the weather really gets warmer. So that's what I've been doing. And you know, my previous video in February was I had showed you all the projects I had cut out. I think I had cut out like 38 projects or something like that, with the intention of whenever I wanted to make something, you know, and I have it all listed out in a notebook, I could just go and pick up the project bag and make it, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to make all 38 right away. Like right now, I do want to, my pajamas are all old and they're just way too big. So I might just stop and make a pajama, right? I was thinking of the Love Notions. They have a nice pajama set that I was eyeing, sleep set. I'll put up the picture here. I forgot the name, but I'm thinking of, you know, stopping and just making a quick pajama set. We'll see. But I got these project bags from Amazon. I was actually looking at Madame So. I got one of those Instagram commercials, Madame So, which they were selling project bags, right? But it was $9.99 or $12.99 for one bag. I said, let me look on Amazon. I know some of you might hate that you know, it's Amazon, it's big. But anyway, I looked on Amazon and I found these project bags that were 5 for $10. Look how huge they are. 5 in a pack, and I got, you know, I think 35 of them. So I picked up 3 projects for this week. I'm gonna see. This is actually from my fabric wheel of fate. This was the #1 pick. When my wheel was the #1 fell on this one. This is the Seamwork. Let me see what it is. It's a dress. So I want to make a spring dress. Since I'm going back to work this week, I wanted a new dress. So it's the Seamwork Baker dress. I'll put the pattern. And it's out of this print that I got. Most of my fabrics are from Fabric Mart Fabrics. This was in my fabric wheel of fate, and the only reason I think I picked this for my fabric wheel of fate is because this was a large print and almost looked tropical, and I felt like that I would, because I would just not sew that up because it was a huge print. It's a rayon, and that I just wouldn't go to it as a more tropical, and it was a large print. So I'm going to try and do it before Tuesday. Let's see if that happens. So that was my one. I picked 3 projects. But then, like I said, I want to make a pajama set. So one of them might go. This bag contains 2 Love Notions classic tees. I need a lot of tees. So those are quick. Those can be done in like 2 hours. And the third one I picked was another one from Seamwork, and that's a pair of pants. This is, let me see what it is the Seamwork Palmer pants, and it is out of this knit, like a rust knit, also from Fabric Mart Fabric. Those are the 3 projects that I pulled out. I'm not sure if I'm going to get all 3 done because I want to cut up the pajama set, and I do want to sew the dress, my priority. So that's on my sewing plans for this week. I hope to be getting on to sewing a little bit more, you know, that now that life is slowly returning to normal. And I don't know if I talked about the shirt. My daughter gave me this t-shirt for my birthday. Jesus, coffee, and cats. She knows me so well. I love my coffee. I love Jesus. I love my coffee, and I love my cats. So, and before I go, I'd like to share with you from my good old calendar here. It's today's verse is March 29th, and it's from March 29th, and it's called Still. The Lord will fight for you, and all you have to do is keep still. Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. I love it. The Lord will fight for you, and all you have to do is keep still. Absolutely. I will talk to you later, hopefully next Friday. Thank you all for coming back. And if you do want to follow me on Instagram, it's Caroline's Handmaids. Thank you. God bless. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.